Hi, I'm Beth from So Country, and today's tutorial is for the Moon River. This is a pattern from K.dill Handmade. Kathy actually released this pattern and a video for it as part of a sew-along during the holidays. Rumor has it that she's going to make this an annual tradition, that every year around the holidays she's going to do kind of a sew-along thing, but we'll wait to see how that goes. But she is re-releasing this pattern with some add-ons and some new techniques. She did give me permission to make this video, but this isn't going to be my typical video because if you know me in real life or if you are friends with me online, you know that I absolutely adore Kathy. So I'm in Kathy's tester group. I tested the Moon River for her when she first put it out, and I've already made one. So while testing this new version of the Moon River, someone made a comment and asked about, well, what's the trick to the binding? Kathy even really tried to make this a birthed bag, figure out a good way to do it. You know, she showed me several ways she was attempting it, and the binding really is the best method. But whenever someone asks about what's the trick to getting that binding perfect, she said, oh, I'm going to show that in my new video. I've got a good technique. Now, I love Kathy. I love Kathy so much, but I love binding more. So I am making this video as a challenge to you guys to watch my video and to watch Kathy's video. And let's see who perfects the binding technique. Now, Kathy doesn't know that I'm making the video like this, so she's going to be a little surprised to see that I challenged her without knowing that she's even part of the challenge. She's not going to know this. So we're going to make the video. I'm going to try my extreme best to do great on the binding. I first sewed this pattern in December, and honestly, I'm just going to be completely honest, I don't even remember the binding. So obviously, I just didn't pay much attention, kind of phoned it in when I did the first time. So being completely honest, I may totally mess it up while doing it again, especially since I'm using vinyl. I'm not the best at sewing with vinyl. I prefer cotton, but we're going to go for it. So let's see if I fail or if I actually give you some good binding techniques on this bag. And let me know in the comments who you think perfected the binding better, me or Kathy. Now, of course, this is all in fun. I love Kathy. She's the designer. Of course, hers will be better. So for this tutorial, I'm using vinyl from Bad Stitches. This is going to be part of their pre-order. I just loved it. I thought it was just a fun look of vinyl. It is non-directional. So since it's non-directional, it's going to be perfect for this pattern. There are parts where things are kind of upside down or going here and there, so this is great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut out the vinyl, get all the pieces prepped, and I'll come back and show you all the materials I'll be using for this binding challenge that Kathy doesn't even know about. So I got everything cut out. I love the way this is looking. It's going to be so cute. But while I was cutting, you know, looking up the measurements for things and kind of getting my head around the pattern, I saw a picture of Kathy's binding, and it looks really good. So I probably can't beat it. It's so pretty. Her binding looks perfect. So maybe just ignore my video and watch hers instead. But no, I'm going to try my best. We're going to try to work through it, but yeah, hers does look good. Okay, pieces. This is the two pieces for the zipper pocket inside the bag. This is going to be my little vinyl overlay for the zipper pocket. Of course, I have zipper tape. I'm using zipper tape from So Majestic. I use almost all of their zipper tape in my videos. Let's see, on the interior, I'm going to go through the interior pieces first. I'm using this for the interior. I did another video with this a while back. This is from Coffins and Diamonds, and I love this print. I love mushrooms, so it's just beautiful. So this is a cotton canvas. I did choose to interface this with Royal Pixie Heavy. I use Royal Pixie interfacing for all of my interfacing, but this version that I have on here is equivalent to a K.dill Light. I did keep it out of the seam allowance. I chose to put it on here because I didn't want to put it on the vinyl. I wanted to go ahead and add it now instead of waiting until I attached the exterior pieces together, so that's why it's there. I honestly even debated on using it because my vinyl is a really sturdy vinyl, but I'm going to risk it and see. Who knows how it'll work out. And then for the last pieces for the interior, actually there it is, it's stuck here. We have 2 side pieces. So that is all the pieces for the interior. I am going to add a tag on the interior, but of course that's not necessary. It's just what I'm choosing to do. For the exterior, I'll have 2 more of those side pieces for the exterior. I'm going to have my little D-ring connectors. I could decide to change this because I had originally cut them out, but I don't know if that looks bad. We'll see as I go. I might decide to change it. 2 D-rings for the connectors. 2 zipper pulls. Of course, I'll need more of the zipper tape. On the exterior, I'm going to add a tag from Heartwood and Hide on the bag. This is going to be my base piece. This does need to be cut out of a non-fraying material as well as that zipper overlay that I had, but the rest of it can all be a cotton woven. If you do not have vinyl or you don't want to use it, you can use a cotton woven here. Just cut it like maybe a 1/2 to 1 inch wider, and so you can fold those raw edges down. I did grab a scrap of K.dill. I'm not going to iron this. I'll probably just put some glue and put on it because I know the way you attach it, it's going to be sewn in. It's not going to be a problem. So for the exterior though, there are 2 pieces of this. I think this is like this is the main part. Okay, so those are all the pieces we need. I'm going to go ahead and get started by adding my tags to both my exterior and my lining. That'll be the first part. I don't think at the time she has an actual placement for the tag. I'll probably put it on this one, but I don't think she has a measurement. Last time I did this bag, I put it down way too low. It was like down here. I did not like that. So I think I'm going to keep it up a little higher on this one. The thing you have to remember is that this part kind of folds down a little bit. So I don't want it up here. I want it kind of down lower. So I think I'm going to risk it putting it here, and if it looks bad, you guys at least know I did try to figure out where to put it. I wasn't just being lazy. I just didn't know the best spot. This pattern's still in the testing while I'm doing this video, so she might decide on measurements too for tag placement by the time this video comes out. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these up off screen so you guys don't have to wait for them, and then we'll come back and we'll get started adding everything together. So I got my tag attached to my lining, and I also attached it to one of my exterior pieces. I'm going to set my lining and everything that goes with it to the side. I am going to work on the exterior first. So like I said, we have these 2 pieces. I'm simply going to clip them right sides together. And I did ask Kathy if we have to cut the exterior in 2 pieces if we don't have a directional print. And she said, you know, in all honesty, you wouldn't have to. You know, she likes to do it because when you have the 2 pieces, you can see clearly where the center is for whenever you lay on this base piece. But if you're in a really big hurry, I wonder if we can make this pattern even quicker if we're doing like production sewing by just cutting out 2 pieces from the lining piece. Just a thought. What I'm going to do though is I have these clipped right sides together. I'm going to sew down this straight edge with the seam allowance given in the pattern, making sure, of course, to backstitch when I start and stop. Now that I have that seam sewed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up, butterfly this seam. So I'm going to push the 2 sides apart, flatten that out. If you have a cotton or a woven material here, you could go ahead and press this at the iron, and you really honestly wouldn't even need to top stitch down both sides. But since mine's vinyl, I'm going to top stitch down both sides to keep that seam open. I'm choosing to top stitch from the wrong side so that way I can make sure I catch it and keep a proper seam allowance exactly from that center edge. We have those 2 pieces attached. Now I'm going to add the K.dill. This is a K.dill heavy, and I'm going to add my base piece. For me, I am just going to add a little bit of glue to secure that down. I'm not using any heat. You can definitely use heat on vinyl if you use the wrong side, especially if you have a heat press. It's really easy to do, but I'm just not feeling like going and turning my heat press on, or even when I use the iron, it doesn't do as well as my heat press. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. The glue is not to hold it in place permanently. The glue is just to secure it while I'm sewing it down. So I'm just going to center that on the bottom. Press it down, and then I'm going to, yeah, I think I want it that way. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this base piece as well. Again, not to hold it permanently, just to secure it while I'm sewing. And now I'm just going to sew all around that rectangle. Okay, so this part here for the exterior is done. I'm going to set it aside. We're going to work on a couple other pieces. I'm going to go ahead. Oh gosh, my heart tells me I should change this, but my lazy, tired body says no, it'll be okay. So we're just going to leave the D-rings like this. I'm going to go ahead and top stitch down both long sides of this. Add the D-rings onto the connectors and then just base those in place. So I'll do that. And then I'm also going to pull out this lining and start working on that zipper pocket. So I'm going to add my zipper pocket on the opposite side of my tag. So the pattern tells you how far down to place your overlay, and then you just center it along that interior. And what I'm going to do is stitch all around the outside of this overlay. We're going to do that first, and I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the overlay again, just to kind of make sure it doesn't shift too much on me. You can use double-sided tape. I just use glue for everything because my machine doesn't fight me when I use glue, and it's so much easier for me to just work with. So I'm going to stitch all around the box. I'm also going to go ahead and top stitch both of my D-ring connectors. Okay, so we have our D-rings stitched, and I just have them basted there at the top, so they are good to go. I went ahead and sewed all around. Now what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to fold these together to start a cut down the middle. I just do one cut, and I have my weak scissors here, so it'll take me a little bit of time. I am going to get a good opening here on the front, then I'll flip it. So I'm going to get about 1/4 of an inch away from that stitch line that I just sewed. So you'll kind of make sure that you put your scissors in between the overlay and the material. Of course, you don't want to cut your overlay, and you're just going to go all the way around so that you don't see any of this lining from that zipper box opening you just created. This is the scariest part for me. I can just imagine myself putting all this effort in and then like cutting a big gash in that zipper overlay. I don't know why it makes me so nervous. Okay, so that's how it looks. Everything's open. When I turn it from this side, you can see clearly there is no lining showing. Now I'm just going to do this the simple way. I am not going to measure this zipper tape, although the pattern does give me a measurement. I just know I want mine longer than that box. I can trim it down at any point. Oh, and I just realized I need an extra zipper pull. I will steal this one, then I'll decide if I still want to use 2. I planned on using 2 on the exterior. I might change that, I might not. Zipper pulls are expensive, people. Okay, I've got that on there. Now what I want to do is pull out those 2 lining pieces for that zipper pocket. Let me see which way they're supposed to go. I think, and mine are a little bit longer than they should be because I really didn't measure. I just rough cut some squares. So I'll definitely have to trim mine down. So what you do is you have one of your zipper pocket lining pieces right sides up. You take your zipper tape and you place it right sides up. I'm going to sew about 1/4 of an inch away. I'm going to back stitch when I start and stop. Now this is what you have here. You don't have to do this next step, but I always do. I always separate these, and then I go ahead and I tack down with 1/8 of an inch all along the zipper tape so that I have a good opening and things aren't getting in the way for my zipper pocket. This is an unnecessary step. I'm not for sure if Kathy tells us to do this in the pattern or not, but it's just what I always do. So that's how mine looks. I'm going to do that same thing for this other piece. So now my two lining pieces are right sides together. My zipper is right sides up. I'm going to match that against that raw edge and go ahead again with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Again, separate these two and tack down that raw edge of the zipper to the lining. So this is what we have at this point. Let's go ahead and leave it open so it's all the way opened up. Take this lining and you're going to center the teeth right in that box. Make sure your lining pocket is centered too, or that it's evenly spaced on this lining. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sew on the inside of this box. If you feel you need double-sided tape, that's fine, go ahead and do it. I do think you get a better sew if you don't use it, but I know a lot of people would fight me on that, so I don't want to fight. Just do whatever you feel better with your sewing. Never worry about what anybody else thinks, do what works for you. So I am going to sew 1/8 of an inch away from that inside cut line, the inside of the box. You can either back stitch or knot your stitches on this, whichever way you prefer. This color combination is giving me all the spring feels. It is so pretty. Okay, so I stitched around the inside of that box. So now our zipper, if we flip it over, looks like this. All I'm going to do is fold it down. And you can see mine's right against the lining. I'm going to do a little bit of trimming. Like I said, I did not follow Kathy's measurements at all. I just kind of rough cut a box, so definitely do that. So I'm going to trim some things up. I don't want this pocket in my seam allowance, and I don't want it too low either, so I'm just going to cut everything up. Since I already know this is a bound bag, I know I need to close up this zipper pocket. So I'm just going to close it completely by stitching around the 3 open sides. Okay, so now I have that lining completed. I'm going to pull out the exterior too, and we're going to go ahead and attach the zipper and get things coming together. I love this part when we start getting things coming together. I'm not going to measure again the zipper tape. Kathy, do you think she's watching this video and just like, why did I agree to let her make a video? She's not even doing anything accurately. She's probably getting frustrated about my lack of following a pattern, but she loves me, so we'll just go with it. Okay, so I'm leaving some overhang on my zipper. I will fix that and trim it all down in the end. I still haven't decided if I want 1 or 2 pulls, so I'm not going to use any pulls, of course, at the moment because we are separating the zipper. We are going to put the zipper right sides down, and I'm just going to make sure I have like an even amount of overhang. If you don't have overhang on yours, just make sure that you have yours centered on. So now that I have the zipper right sides together with the exterior, I'm going to put the lining right sides together with the exterior and create a traditional zipper sandwich. I'm going to clip all along there. If you wanted, you could baste the zipper on the exterior first, or you could use double-sided tape, whatever is your preference. Now that I have this clipped together, I'm just going to sew along that edge with the seam allowance given in the pattern. Make sure you back stitch when you start and stop. Okay, now that we have those stitched together, let's go ahead and flip these and pull apart, and we're going to top stitch all along. I'm going to make sure I take the time to fold and pull. I'm afraid that I'll lose some of the lining. That happens a lot. I'm going to put a few clips down here, and I can use the metal on this part. And while I'm top stitching, I'm going to be pulling and applying some pressure on the zipper teeth and on the vinyl because I do not want things to creep up. I want everything to be nice and flat. I just top stitch 1/8 of an inch away all along that folded edge. I'm going to do, and this is getting, my pull keeps getting caught. I'm going to do those same steps with the other side. So for this, let's get this all around here. You'll take your zipper teeth once again, lay them right sides down, and now you'll pull up that other side of the lining and clip it right sides together. You're going to do this the same way, sew all the way across there with the seam allowance given in the pattern. So we are getting very close to being done with sewing up this bag. We are ready almost for the binding challenge. So what I want to do now is I want to put the zipper pulls on. I'm going to fold it so that my exterior is on the inside and my lining is on the outside. I am going to simply add the pulls. When we do it this way, we do have to add our pulls upside down, and you can see I'm just matching to see if I have everything, like my zipper on evenly, and I don't, of course, because I didn't measure. That's okay. I'm just going to make it correct there. So I am going to install this zipper pull upside down simply because I'm from the lining side. If you don't like to do this, you can do it the other way, but it's really no different than doing it from the exterior side. The basic principle is the same. Okay, there's my first one. Let's trim up the tape on the other one. I'm a little bit off, so I hope I don't, yeah. I'm a little bit off here. I don't think it'll be too big of a deal, but I can see this is a little bit, and that's just the way I put the zipper pull on. That's not the pattern. That was me not trimming the zipper tape properly. Now at this point, what we're going to do is we are going to flip this over so that the zipper tape is on the bottom. I'm going to kind of smooth everything out. I'm going to first add a D-ring. I'm just going to have that up just a little bit. I want to make sure I can clear that hardware with the needle. So I'm just going to clip that in place, and then I'm going to baste that on. I'm going to do that on both sides. Then at that point, I can go ahead and trim down that zipper tape. I won't need to keep it long anymore. It served its purpose by letting me get the zipper pulls on. So we're going to go ahead and baste the connectors in place. And you want those D-rings to be centered, of course, on your zipper tape. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and trim everything up. Okay, so we are going to add our side pieces. Now, I want to make sure that they match up. If I try to add it this way, you can see this is too long. So you want to have it matching up so that it is the right side, or you can just check the pattern to make sure it's correct. You're going to put exterior to exterior. My print's not directional, so I'm not going to worry too much about the way it's going to look as far as the direction. But I'm just going to clip that in place, matching up that raw edge with the raw edge of the vinyl, so the two raw edges together. Then I will come over to the lining, grab a lining piece, and do the exact same thing. So it's, in a sense, again, another zipper sandwich because the zipper is still inside there. I am going to sew all the way across from one side to the other. I'm going to go ahead and do that with the other side so I can sew them both at the same time. Make sure that you flip your D-ring up. See how my D-ring is hanging down? That would be just such a tragedy. So flip that up, and then again match up the right side to the right side, making sure they're even so that you know you have the right side to the side so that it's right. That's confusing to say. Okay, do the same thing again with the lining. Okay, so now that we have those side pieces sewn together, we are simply going to take them and flip them so that they're wrong sides together, pull it straight, and let's go ahead and do a top stitch right along the side panel piece to have those secured. I'm only going to do about 1/8 of an inch away, and I'm going to keep some pressure and pulling tight so everything, like not hard, like I'm not jerking, I'm just kind of keeping it all flat. So what you're going to do now is you're going to find your center here on this long piece. I'm just going to mark it with the clip, and honestly I'm just going to kind of eyeball it to get that centered. We already know where the center is because we have that seam on the exterior. So I'm just going to kind of flatten this out. I'm going to pull up this side piece and clip it directly center to center. Make sure that all the lining and the exterior are both clipped properly. My lining is slipping a little. So I'm going to add some more clips right along there. Do the same thing on this other side. Now, at this point, we are not going to sew from edge to edge here. The pattern gives us 2 measurements. We're going to come in those 2 measurements. So you'll use your ruler, mark a line here, mark a line here, according to the pattern measurements. And those 2 lines, in between those 2 lines is where you'll sew. So you'll start back stitch, stop, back stitch. So just in between there. So let's do these steps. And the reason we'll do that is because that will let us be able to pull up and get a sharp 90-degree angle right there. I'm going to smush everything around and kind of get it under my needle in a neat way. I'm going to take a ruler and just to make for sure I have everything perfect. Okay, so this is what we have so far. What we're going to do now is put your finger in that corner. So here's your zipper, so this top, put your finger in that corner, and let's go ahead and push those corners together first. I'm going to put some clips all the way up here just because I want to hold that crease. I don't want things slipping and getting around. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm making that a straight line all the way down there. Going to keep coming and pulling everything tight, making sure the lining and the exterior are staying together. At the bottom, you are going to have an overhang. That is expected and completely normal. So look right here. You can see that spot right there. That is what you need to see. If you look inside here, what you're going to do is you're going to start sewing right here at the top. You're going to back stitch. You're going to go with that seam allowance all the way down, but you're going to stop right where you meet these previous stitches where you stopped. So you're not going to go all the way down. So we're going to go right there to that, and that's going to give us that perfect 90-degree angle. You can choose how you want. If you want to start here and sew this way, if you want to start this way. I'm going to sew to where I start on this side from the bottom and go up. On this side, I will start at the top and go down. It just is what makes sense to me. Kathy said the same thing, that she does it on alternate sides. So what I want to do to get this start, I'm going to push everything flat. And so I'm going to kind of crease. I'm creasing that. It looks crazy and ugly, but it's okay because I don't care about anything but getting my needle straight in there. So push, flat, smash, doesn't matter as long as you get that proper seam allowance and stitch in a straight line, you're good. So let's back stitch. Perfect, I love it. Same thing, I'm going to, let's get all this open. I'm going to stick my finger right here in the top, smooth out that vinyl, push those 2 pieces together and get a crease right here at the top of the zipper. Add the clip there. Then I will go a little bit further, make sure everything's together, clip again. When we come down to the bottom, get your finger in there, smush it out. And you again will have that overhang. I don't have as much on this one as I did on the other one, but that's okay. I probably just was a little off on my measuring. So on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew it from this way. So I'm going to put it under my needle. I'll start at the very top. And I'm going to back stitch right there, back and forth. I'm cramming everything out of the way. So you can see I'm going to push this down, have my finger right here. I see exactly where I want to go to stop, but I don't want any kind of puckers or bumps or crinkles in the way. I get to where my previous stitches were, back stitch right there. Let's look. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim up. I'm not trimming these seam allowance. I'm just going to trim some of the threads, but I am trimming this overhang right here. So let's go ahead and get some of that stuff out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to smash this out so you can see that perfect square there. Everything looks great. So now comes our binding part. We're only going to do one side at a time. I'll do this other side off camera. I have not cut my binding yet, so I'm going to grab some binding. I am going to use waterproof canvas. I do not want it too thick. I don't want to go over the seam allowance, especially on these corners. Down here in this bottom part, it's going to get bulky. You know, we don't want a lot of extra material down here. So if you're really stressed, you could bind this part and then bind this part separately. I'm not going to. I'm just going to go all the way around, and it is going to be, we'll see how it goes. Let's just cut some binding first. Okay, so I've just rough cut a piece of waterproof canvas. The way I'm going to get this binding started is I'm simply going to fold the wrong sides together and make a crease all the way down. I buy these mini rolls of waterproof canvas from J&R Edwards. I get them at an extremely cheap price because they're end cuts. If you want these, you will see them occasionally post them for sale in their Facebook group. When I see them, I try to grab them as quick as possible, so you'll have to fight me for them because I love them. So now that I have that crease down there, I'm just simply going to start clipping it right there at the top. When I get down to this corner, I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap there, and then I will just push it to lay flat. It's not necessarily a mitered corner, but it'll kind of look like one in the end. Do the same right here. So you can see I'm holding my finger there, and then I'm coming and pushing it around to the other side. It leaves a little bit of a gap, and then I just push it down. There's no science or magic behind it. Continue going up to the other side. And then we're just going to clip off the extra. Since this is a material that can be left raw edge, I don't have to worry about folding it down or anything like that. Okay, so that's how the binding looks. If you are someone that is nervous with binding, you can glue this down. You can stop right here, glue this down. You could glue it enough to where you can just leave it like that. Now this glue, it's not going to say that it's a permanent glue, but it would hold it if you're not fooling with the bag a lot, but I don't recommend it. I would recommend, if you're nervous, gluing it and then either hand basting it or going over the machine and sewing it. I am not going to glue. I'm just going to risk it to see if I can sew it without it slipping. So I'm going to add a few more clips in here. And then I'm just going to sew. I'm going to sew with the same seam allowance given in the pattern. So my binding is just a little bit bigger than that, so I'll have a little bit of a free edge hanging over, but that's okay. I'm going to start with this part against the bed of my machine, and I am going to attempt to go all around without stopping, even though I know I'm going to have those really sharp 90-degree angles. I'm going to attempt this. So I'm going to start by back stitching when I start and stop, and slowly going around. When I'm sewing this, I'm pushing that binding onto that edge. It'll tend to want to slide and you'll have like a gap there, but you don't want that. So push the binding with your finger onto the edge of the bag. Go slow. I know you can't see a lot, so I apologize for that. Here we come to that first pivot. This is where we're going to either be a champion or be a failure. You can see the bag is trying to push itself off of the foot, so I'm going to have to apply an even pressure. I'm going to kind of even angle it a little bit. I do not want to pivot until I'm in both pieces of that binding where it meets in that corner. That is when I can lift up the foot, leaving that needle down, and pivot. So then I just push it down the rest of the way. I'm losing a little bit of the binding here, so I'll have to come back and push that. I'm going to use my finger to make sure that binding's still in place up against the edge of that bag. Hold it there. Continue to go straight. Our first corner was definitely a success. Take off another clip, push that binding, make sure it's staying right up against the raw edge. We're up to that last pivot. Come on, people, we can do this. Let's go straight, move that clip, hold it with your finger. Keep going until you get both overlap pieces under the needle. Lift up the foot, the needle is down. I'm going to pivot the bag. I'm going to push that binding, make sure it's on the wrong edge. The only thing that is wrong is that my binding's a little too long. I should have cut it a little shorter, but I didn't measure. I just eyeballed it because, again, I was lazy. Come up to your top. Back stitch. And we have a gorgeously bound bag. You can see where I have some overhang here. If I was particular, I could cut it down. I'm not going to worry about it. This is the white edge from where I cut it. I could have cut that off too, but everything caught. No problems, no slipping. That's as good as it's going to get, people. That's as good as I'm going to get it. So now you go watch Kathy's video and you tell us who bound it better. And let's see. I'm going to repeat the other side off camera since we already got the technique down, and then I'll come back and we'll turn the bag and look at the finished results. Okay, so I have both sides bound. The zipper pocket looks great. She did a great job on the placement of that. I love that. My tag looks really good. The only thing left I need to worry about is how the inside looks, or the outside once I turn it, and if I got the tag placement right, if all my corners look good. So you never know. We think it looks good from this side, but you know, I could have missed a seam on the exterior and everything like that. Also, yes, I put connectors on this, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you I am not sewing a strap for this right now. If I decide I need a strap, I'll do webbing later, but for me, I'll probably just kind of use this as a pouch and have it sitting on a counter. I prefer pouches. I don't do a lot of bags. I rarely wear a bag, to be honest. I'm poking out the corners. I'm going slow, taking my time. This type of bag might need some shaping when I'm done, but we'll see how it looks. I only have one corner that's giving me problems. Other than that, everything looks absolutely perfect. I love a square bag. Oh my gosh. Look at that. I did great on my placement of the tag, guys. That's so much better. My last one was like down here. Look at that perfect corner. That's perfect. Kathy, I want to see yours. Let me see your perfect corner, Kathy. Honestly, guys, I'm teasing. If you know me, you know that I adore Kathy. She's one of my favorite designers. Her patterns are always written so well. Her patterns are very common sense to me. It's one of those patterns that even if I'm stressed, I can just kind of sink into it. I love that she gives us measurements for everything she can instead of just the pattern pieces. I'm someone who prefers to use a ruler to cut and measure everything, so I love that she does that. She gives us very just instructions that are easy to follow. I love the steps. I love the techniques she uses. Perfect, perfect. I love this so much. Kathy, thank you again for letting me do this tutorial. You're awesome and I love you. And I love this pattern. My vinyl is from Bad Stitches. My tags are from Heartwood and Hide. Zipper tape is so majestic. And the adorable lining inside is from Coffins and Diamonds. I'm going to have the links to everything in my description, including this amazing pattern. I hope you guys sew one of these and post it in Kathy's group. She loves to see everything everyone creates. And I hope today you guys are able to create something fun, cute, and adorable. And I hope you perfect binding on corners. Binding on corners is fun, guys. Let's do that. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.